Welcome aboard for this Friday, 28th of July, 2023. Stan the Fan filling in one last time for Glenn Clark. Maybe not one last time in our lives, but one last time on Glenn's vacation. Glenn will be back on Monday with a whole new week of shows. But just in case you are a Stan the Fan groupie or really like to follow me, I will not be here next Friday.
Oh, Stan.
Yeah. Griff, I had to take a day off. The Oriole 40th anniversary luncheon.
Which
is essentially my 40th anniversary.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that was the first year I had my own show on the radio. Haven't had a show on the radio all 40 years, but it still is my 40th anniversary of when I started. I'd like to see, I wasn't great friends with the players back then during that inaugural season of Stan the Fan on the radio, but I've maintained good relationships with many of the players on that 83 team, most notably probably Dempsey, Tippy, Singleton. Eddie and I haven't been great friends. The relationship has warmed up a little bit the last couple years that I've seen him. And, of course, good friends with old-time Orioles, Boog Powell and Brooks Robinson. Was friendly with Mike Flanagan, Scott McGregor. And, of course, we know that Mike Flanagan is no longer with us. We are here on this Friday. Let me tell you what we've got on the show today. In about 10, 12 minutes, the one and only Jim Henneman, still going strong, is really one of the best baseball writers in the country, and he'll come in and talk about 40 years ago. We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about this 2023 run and maybe all the runs in between, and we'll get Jim's assessment of Mike Elias, the job Mike and Brandon are doing, and we'll talk about the trade market that's going on at 11 o'clock, just off of his three-game stint as an Oriole broadcaster a week ago or 10 days ago. Unfortunately, it coincided or collided with personal tragedy for Mike Devereaux. He lost his brother to the heat out in Arizona. His brother was 61 years old. Mike Devereaux will join us to talk about his assessment of this 2023 club and the job. Now, keep in mind, Mike Griffin was a coach down in spring training for a few days, so he got to see them then, and I'm sure he's watched plenty of games in between, but then he got to be a little bit more up close with them for 3 days, and he'll be doing another 3 games. We'll get the exact dates of that, but he's got another 3-game stint coming up. I certainly hope Mike gets more involved with the broadcast. I think he's a good voice. And again, not to always bring race into things, but in a city that is 65% African American, the only voice we get that's African American is Rob Long in pre and post. And Rob, of course, does his morning show on 105.7 The Fan. But anyway, it would be nice to have some diversity in that broadcast booth. And Mike Devereaux is certainly a knowledgeable baseball man. And I know he'd love to come home to Baltimore in a more meaningful way than 3 games here, 3 games there. Don't get me wrong, he's thrilled to be asked to do those 3 games here and there. But he would cherish the opportunity to really get a meaningful role in these broadcasts. At 11:20, we'll talk to a former number 1 pick. Was he a number 1 pick, Daz Cameron, of the Astros? Not the number 1 overall.
Yeah, but I think he might have been like a
second supplemental pick,
something like that.
Okay, well, Daz Cameron, who's been with the Orioles all season in the minor leagues, will be joining us 11:20. He was a supplemental
Yeah, he was
pick.
37th overall in 2015.
Okay. And his career to date has not kind of panned out the way he had, I'm sure, envisioned it. He's the son of a great, great defensive center fielder, Mike Cameron, who played most of his years if we're immaculately gridding that, who else did he play for Milwaukee and
he played
Seattle?
For a lot. Yeah.
Mike Cameron.
I'm not going to tell you. No, he was on
Milwaukee.
San Diego, Boston, Florida.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Seattle is on there. San Diego's on. I mean, yeah, he is the immaculate.
Milwaukee is not in there.
Milwaukee is in there. Yes,
okay.
He did have 2 seasons with Milwaukee.
Good. I can use him today. Well, I'm having a hard time on some of those grids. I like think of.
You're really trying to scratch your brain, to get those deep.
You really have to
deep
stretch.
Cuts.
Now, my wife took all my old baseball cards. You ready for this?
Yeah.
That I found out are basically worthless, like 85 through 90 tops boxes of the whole season. She didn't take all those cards. She took a lot of them, and she redid the bathroom in my den. The wall is baseball cards. You don't think I cheat a little bit and go over and say, hey, that guy put, to jog my memory. But like yesterday, there was a San Francisco Giant St. Louis Cardinal. I got Ray Sadecki, left-handed pitcher who pitched for the Cardinals and the Giants, was traded to the Giants for Orlando Cepeda. This is when Willie McCovey was essentially pushing him out of first base, and Cepeda had a couple knee injuries. Cepeda ended up finishing up a Hall of Fame career, took the Veterans Committee to put him in, but Orlando Cepeda is a wonderful, wonderful player. But Ray Sadecki was 0.3%. That's the kind of players you want, on the immaculate grid.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
This
game's kind of built for you.
There were a couple of them that were just so I just couldn't believe I couldn't think of them. And I got St. Louis Cardinal Gold Glove winner. Well, obviously, the one that's the most obvious is Ozzie Smith.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I guess at this point. But
I got one under, I think he was 3%. I got third baseman Ken Boyer, who was kind of the National League's Brooks Robinson. So I got him at 3%. And then, man, did I whiff on a St. Louis, was it? I can't even remember what I whiffed at, but it was incredible. Anyway, after Daz Cameron, we still got one more guest to go.
Big show today.
Old friend John Battaglia.
Joe Battaglia.
Joe Battaglia.
Joe
Battaglia.
Coach Bats.
John's
Coach Bats.
brother. Joe, he's the head football coach at Concordia Prep. Was last year his first year?
I believe 2021 was his first full season because he took over like right as the pandemic hit is when he took over.
Battaglia.
And he's created a pretty strong force in the MIAA in the football scene there.
They have a chance to be pretty good this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. They have they keep adding some talent, and they lose some really good football players every year, but they're building a special football team, football culture over there, right across the street off Lock Raven Boulevard.
Right, they're right around the corner from us here.
Yep,
you could be going to practice.
Yeah,
do you think they're practicing now?
Or they I think they probably did start practice. Let's see, July 28th. I don't know whatever the rules are. I'm sure they started on day one, so I think they're probably meeting. They might not be actually practicing quite yet. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, they got a lot of exciting players still on their team. Keyshawn Mister will be a senior this year. He might have been their most exciting player last year. No disrespect to any of the other kids on the team, but but he'll be back for his senior year, so it should be exciting.
All right. We'll talk to those guests today: Jim Henneman, Mike Devereaux, Daz Cameron, Joe Battaglia. Today on today's show. I will be on with the guys tomorrow. I believe they're returning as normal. Last week they had booked a guest who could only do my time slot, and they asked me if I would give up my time slot.
And you said no.
I said, what are you talking about? I'm the chief grand poobah here. But no, I was happy to give up my time slot and just go out about my business. Hey, we'll let you know that the Toyota Tacoma, comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer.
And Well, since you were last here, one of the pitchers that a lot of Orioles fans have been barking for is now off the board
Lucas
as well.
Giolito
Yes.
and David Robertson.
Yeah. As well as Ohtani, of course, is no longer off the board.
I think we were so close to acquiring him.
Yeah.
That was such a pipe dream, you know. I love the website MLBTradeRumors.com. I love it. You know, I go to it this time of year. I go to it like probably 10 times a day, maybe 20 times a day, just to see what the latest. But when I read that the Orioles are checking in on Ohtani, do you have that tape of what I offered to do?
Yeah, you said you would eat the table, I believe. Yeah.
We have a pretty big table here.
Yes.
It's made of, I think it's oak. It's part of the old floor at the Meadow Mill squash courts.
Right.
Our grand poobah, our true grand poobah, John Colson got it and envisioned it for what it is. It's a great table for a studio like this. It's kind of like a mini conference table, you know, but it's got good width, so we're not on top of each other.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said that if the Orioles acquired Shohei Ohtani this year, I would eat the table slowly but surely. It was never like I said, I'll come in and eat it in one foul swoop. You know, like
so
today,
you kind of got bailed out a little bit.
Today I could have been munching like right over here. You know,
we would have been able to use
a camera to take a picture of what I could have been doing.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. If I can. If that's what you want.
I'm gonna pretend that I'm.
There we go.
All right. Put that up.
Okay.
Put up there on the archives.
Okay.
On the archives.
Yeah, the archives.
All right. Anyway. Your take on what's going on. It looks like the Orioles are now a little bit more centering their thoughts. I don't want to get too far into this because Jim will join us and we'll talk about his assessment of what the Orioles are doing. But I've got two names. The Orioles appear now to be more inclined to look for a starting pitcher than another bullpen arm, and there's a two-pronged process here. I think deep down, and if you remember back at the beginning of the year, I mean going back to spring training, I thought Tyler Wells was a bullpen guy. I thought that again, we didn't know a thing about Yennier Cano back in February and March. I thought that Wells and Bautista would make just an incredible 1-2 punch out of the late innings for the Orioles. They ended up, of course, not listening to my advice, and Tyler Wells ended up as a member of the starting rotation. He seems to be right now taking a good bit of a fade right now. Not that he's not capable, but maybe with the inning situation and such, maybe picking up a starting pitcher would be a two-pronged attack that then they could slot Tyler Wells back into a bullpen role and essentially have Kyle Gibson, Grayson Rodriguez, Kyle Bradish, Dean Kramer, and slot in Michael Lorenzen, slot in Steven Matz,
Cole Irvin if you have to.
Cole Irvin. But the Tyler Wells would perhaps – he needs some help because that thing does not roll in, get him closer up to the mic. I have the same problem, Jim. Jim Henneman joining us in just a minute. But that's my thinking right now is that they kill two birds with one stone, and that is improving the bullpen by improving the starting rotation. And again, this is no knock at the talent of Tyler Wells, but maybe Tyler Wells' real role should be as a relief pitcher. We'll see.
Yeah, I like that take. I mean, at least maybe the rest of this season, it seems like bullpen might be better suited for him, just the way that he's reached his limit. And
all right. We said we would have him in today. He's going to join us until at least 11 o'clock, and that is our veteran columnist, baseball columnist, still one of the best baseball writers I've ever read, and that's Jim Henneman. Jim, how are you, my friend?
I'm hot.
You're hot?
It's hot out.
Join the club. Doesn't it feel like a different type of heat when it gets hot now?
It does when you get this old.
Yeah. Well, I'm not quite as old.
When you
but
get older, you feel it more.
Yeah. How you feeling? Other than hot.
I'm all right.
All right.
Yeah.
We're trying to sort of put our arms around what Mike Elias might be thinking right now. I don't know if you heard all of my what I was saying, but it seems to me perhaps they've centered now on the concept of acquiring one more starting pitcher, maybe not a big-time starter, but a Mike Lorenzen, Steven Matz, and then moving Tyler Wells to the bullpen. Thoughts?
I guess. Well, number one, it's got to be somebody better than what they already have.
Yeah.
And there's no point in getting another number 2, 3, or 4.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you might argue over who's number. Wells. I get it with Wells. What your thought was there. I think he deserves. I think we're jumping to conclusions a little bit with here. I know he's had a couple of. The thing about him that's got me a little concerned more than anything is it was control, and I think the whip thing is a little bit overrated because of the home runs.
Yeah.
Instead of runners per base, runners per innings, it ought to be bases per inning. You have a better clue there. But still, having said that, I think I think he's going to pitch this series, so. This would be a good test.
Yeah.
But again, I don't. The starters that they might have been after. The guy from Chicago is gone, so they're not going to get him. I've heard Lance Lynn's name kicked around. I haven't talked to any scouts that think that's
a
necessarily.
Good move, yeah.
Not that it wouldn't be a good move, that it would be an improvement.
Yeah.
So
have you seen? There's two ways to think of it, though, Jim. In my opinion. You're looking. You'd like to get somebody that's better than what we have, but what if it keeps Tyler Wells being effective and the guy is not even quite as good as Wells was as a starter for his first 10 or 12 starts, but he's better than what Wells is now as a starter, with the idea of Wells going back to being the caddy to Bautista, because Cano has certainly sprung a little bit of a leak. Wouldn't you say?
To a degree, yeah. I think mostly with Cano, the thing I see more with Cano, it seems to me that the ball is up more.
Yeah.
But going back to Wells, here's the only problem I have with that philosophy. Is like he's struggling right now early in the game. So struggling early in the game, if it features that he would be struggling early in the game coming out of the bullpen
right.
too, and he would be more of a long guy. I get it. I see where that works, but the bullpen with Baker, with Perez has kind of really been a mixed bag. Who am I missing there?
Bauman.
Bauman has been off the charts, but those guys, it sounds like they're going to be like that every time out. The way the bullpen's going to get better is if they got to get another inning out of the starters, and maybe the way to do that is let the starters go deeper. Even with, and I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect him, but it's just like, Rodriguez was lights out. If he'd got one more guy out, he'd have probably started another inning and give up a 2-run single. He's still in control of the game, 5-2. I'm not so sure that. I think a year from now, I don't think there's any question he stays in the game.
Rodriguez.
Yeah. In that situation. So I understand what they're doing, but I do think that the only way the bullpens are going to get better, and that Baker and Bauman and those guys are going to be as effective as they are, is if
they're not used.
The starters have got to get deeper. Yeah. You can't use 5 pitchers a game.
I don't think that that's possible this year. That's why I'm in favor of strengthening the bullpen first and foremost, because I don't think this group is. I think Kramer and Bradish, and to a certain extent Rodriguez, are capable of more innings, but I don't know that it happens suddenly in August when you're trying to keep Rodriguez viable for the playoffs, innings-wise.
Well, I get that. Except when we talk about innings, we're talking about 2 or 3 more outs. It's not like we're talking about 50 more pitches or anything. Look, these guys are not babies anymore. I think Kramer's done a good job. I love Bradish. I mean, Bradish was a lot more impressive the other night in some ways than he was before because he battled his way through. That's exactly the kind of situation I'm talking about. And sometimes a guy that gets through that kind of a situation, sometimes he's got to get through it a little bit later in the game. But he ended up being able to pitch later in the game because he was able to get through that, and because he had to. He almost had to get through.
Were you sitting at home saying he should have taken him out?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
The worst thing in the world is, I mean, he's lights out through the first 6 hitters in the lineup and comes out at 7, 8, and 9. He can't get and he's struggling with his control. I mean, something went a little bit haywire. You just gotten 3 runs, and they put 2 back on the board right away. Maybe the next inning when he got, the next inning he was probably a 1 hit away from being out of the game.
Yeah.
But to his credit, he stayed in the game. I like him a lot. I think he's a bulldog. I really do.
Well, I think him and Kramer are the 2 best starters we have right now.
Yeah. And well, listen, I don't discount. I agree with that. I don't discount Gibson only because Gibson of the 5 guys probably his stuff doesn't light you up. But somehow or other, he gets the job done, and he gets guys to swing and miss.
Well, have you seen enough of Fuji to make an assessment? I mean, he does have a big time arm, doesn't he, Jim?
Yes, there's no question about that. And I did not see his first 2 outings because I was away.
Right.
So the one thing I've seen of him was
those 2 innings in Philly.
In fact, that's another situation where we all talk about it, and nothing has changed. That was 2 innings and less than 20 pitches.
Right. Why not
my,
put him out?
My mindset is, send him back. And I get it. I mean, but this is not the way. It's not. I mean, I think Hyde's done a great job.
Yeah.
But I just think the industry continues to shoot itself in its collective feet, and I don't see any. I don't see it changing, and I don't understand the way. I don't understand pitching. And I spent the weekend in Cooperstown. You have a chance to talk to some people like Blyleven and Jim Cott and around here. I mean, and it's just, I mean, it's even like with Tyler Wells I think already had 2 surgeries. He's 28, 29 years old. So I get it, the protection, you got it. But somewhere along the line, you got to, you have to get behind it. And I think, I mean, in all honesty, I just think that they have these guys programmed now for 6 innings.
Yeah.
And that means you're using 4 pitchers a game when you do that.
Right.
So
let me do a brief reset. You're listening to the Glenn Clark Radio Show. It's a Friday edition. Glenn will be back on Monday. I'm Stan the Fan, the chief grand poobah around here. And we're talking baseball with Jim Henneman. Coming up at about 11 o'clock is Mike Devereaux. Then at 11:20, Daz Cameron's going to join us. And then at 11:45, Joe Battaglia of Concordia Prep. He's the head football coach there, and we'll talk to him about his hopes for the 2023 season. Jim, let's go back and talk about one thing. There's a lot of push right now that Grayson Rodriguez should be able to go longer in games. It's disappointing. When you look at him, I don't know when the last time is you've looked at the way he was developed. When Dan Duquette drafted him, they treated him with such kid gloves the first couple of years that when it came time, when the pandemic rolled around and there was no minor league season and he was at the alternate site, up until that year, he had not pitched more than like 75, 80 innings in a season.
Well,
he was programmed for 3 inning starts.
I think you're preaching to the choir here, but yes. I mean, look, I get it. It's like everything else. He was drafted, and I mean, of course, I mean, he was from the previous. I mean, this is all part of the pitching philosophy now, which I got to reiterate this because I mean, frankly, I hate it. But I don't just blame the Orioles. I blame everybody. I think they've all fallen under the same umbrella, and But I guess my argument is that they, where they go, we'll never find out if we don't go there.
Yeah, but my problem isn't so much that he doesn't go 7 or 8 innings. He barely can get through 5 innings in a game. And here's my point: is because of how Dan Duquette, that regime treated him with kid gloves the first couple of years. then the pandemic, and then the lat tear or lat strain last year, it's not surprising to me that physically and mentally he can't get through a sixth inning, Jim.
Well, it sounds to me like you're blaming the Duquette era. They only had him for that one for a month and a half. So, I mean, he's been in this organization almost from the get-go.
I thought
that was Hall. Hall was before Rodriguez.
Yeah, but I thought he was drafted
2018. 2018.
Okay. Well,
I mean, think about it. Rodriguez.
Well,
catcher.
I'm blaming somebody, but I'm also saying circumstance. In other words, the pandemic was one season that cost him any development where he might have started to go 5 innings in a game. Then last year, finally, he was healthy. He had a good season going at Norfolk, and then he had the lat strain.
Look, he's had a lot. There's been a lot of the injuries. All these guys have all been developed under the same program.
Right.
I mean, you see guys come out of games in the 4th inning for no reason other than we know that his pitch counts. There's just almost nothing. Even when things were going, even when the pitch counts were good, it seemed like they didn't pitch more than 5 innings. But as far as the pandemic, I mean, how are we gonna? We'll never know about that. But I guess the devil's advocate theory there is, would the pandemic have hurt the development of a 19 or 20-year-old any more than it would a 39 or a 40-year-old? I mean,
the development of.
I mean,
I'd say
no. I mean, the guys that were the pitchers that were 30, 31 years old, who basically they had the same thing. I mean, they had the pandemic here too. I would think it would have every bit as much effect on them as it would on a young development.
Well, I think it has. I think the 2020 season has had an effect on the older pitchers as well. Okay. I don't think they've really ramped back up to be what they were, and I'll agree with you, Jim. They've been developing them or treating them robotically. That 6 is great, 7 is off the charts. But I think since the pandemic, it's been tough for a lot of starting pitchers to ramp back up to the real numbers that we think starters can go, which now is what, 200 to 220 tops?
Oh, I think 200.
Yeah.
I think in another year or so, 200 is going to be off the charts.
Right.
I mean, I think 180 is. I mean, 180 is 30 starts, 6 innings.
Right.
And you're not going to go 6 innings all the time.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I go back to and we both go back to the Weaver era. Earl's whole thing about you, well, especially we're talking about 4-man rotation on top of it. I mean, that was the other thing. If we're only going to go pitch 200 innings, why aren't we
going back to 4 guys?
I mean, the George Bamberger thing. Herm started, got the job as pitching coach at Atlanta 100 years ago.
Right.
And he told George his biggest problem was finding a 5th starter. And George said, if that's your biggest problem, all you're doing is looking for somebody that's going to lose more games than he's going to win. And it's almost. And if you go back, you can't find any team with 4 pitchers that have won more than they lose. And I know people say wins don't mean anything, but you go look at the bottom line, look at the team wins. I mean, that's why I've looked at Kramer and I've looked at Bradish and Wells, to a lesser degree Wells, only because he missed so much last year.
Yeah.
Their won-loss records don't light your eyes up, but the team won-loss record is off the charts.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people haven't looked at the Orioles won-loss record in games started by Kramer and Bradish in the last 2 years.
It's pretty impressive.
Is almost as good as the team's record is right now. So
that's a great point.
That tells you pretty much what you need to know there. I mean, it's not their win, but their wins.
Jim, one other aspect of the Tyler Wells discussion about whether or not, and obviously if he goes out this next start against the Yankees this weekend,
all bets are off.
All bets are off. Yeah. But one other aspect of that discussion is the year that he had when we first got him and they put him in the bullpen. He was pretty darn good, wasn't he?
He was, but and look, let's face it. All of his seasons in the big leagues have been pretty much. I mean, there have been shutdowns. I mean, he's been shut down.
Yeah.
In all the cases. So again, I look at his career, length of his career, where I'm sure he'd rather be a starter. I mean,
no question about it.
But somewhere along the line, you can't have to not miss 5 or 6, 7 starts. I mean, we talk about innings. We used to talk about 40 starts. Now we talk about 30, max 32. Pretty much max is 32 right now. I mean, you do the math. 5 pitchers, that's 100. That's it. That's 160 games, and you need 2 other games. So that's the biggest. To me, that's the biggest thing. That would be the biggest thing with Wells.
Yeah.
That would that backs up your argument. The point is, most of his exposure at this point has been in relief or been in short stretches.
Yeah.
Where he hasn't pitched more than, I mean, as a reliever, you're not going to pitch more than 50, 60 innings in some cases.
You've been intimately watching the game longer than I have, partly because you're 10 years older than I am, but also because you've been intimate with the game for longer than I have been. Yennier Cano, what we got out of him the first 2.5 months of the season was off the charts, both in terms of the performance and surprise factor. Right. Do you think he can get back to being nearer that pitcher than he's been the last 3 or 4 weeks? Jim?
I think he's been a little bit. He's looked a little bit different to me. Let's put it that way. I don't see. I don't see the serious sink that when he first came in. First of all, there was a lot of movement on almost all of his pitches, and his first whatever month or whatever was so off the charts that you knew that it was not sustainable.
Right.
So I mean, whereas I'm not ready to say he can't do that because it looks like and I don't think that the innings thing. I mean, he's 29 years old. He's been pitching all his life. I'm sure. I don't see that being a thing. Having said that, though, there's not a whole lot of question in my mind that Fuji can be off of what you've seen has been it would be the setup guy for Bautista and or the closer. Maybe you have to have a situation where one of those guys got to be ready to finish. I mean, like Cano had to come in the other day when, if that was Bautista coming in, you wouldn't bat an eye. But with Cano coming in, you might say, why not just stay with the guys there? You know. So I get that. I mean that.
The only thing that, and I was at the game in Philly the other night. I went. My buddy Bruce and I got seats and sat in the stands. The only thing about Fuji that had scared me was you look at his numbers, like his last 16 appearances for Oakland. He threw roughly, I think it was 16 innings, gave up 3 runs, struck out 18, walked 6. But those games, when you're either closing a game or you're the setup guy in a game and Oakland's up, let's say 7-2, 6-1, or they're behind and you come into a game for an inning, it's not the same as pitching in that kind of theater that he did the other night. And yet that game answered some questions for me.
Yeah, it did for me too. I don't know whether you can answer questions on one thing, but number one, you're 100% right. Pitching in Oakland, now, first of all, and I mean, who you'd be hard pressed to name anybody that's a closer in Oakland because it's not like they're protecting 3-run leads in the 9th inning very often. So he's not pitching in that situation at all. But having seen or not seen but heard about his early things, watching him the other night, he looked very calm to me.
He looked unfazed.
Now the other thing about it is apparently the idea that he still wants to be a starter. Now, I don't know that that's ever going to happen. When we're sitting here talking about making the starters relievers, and frankly, right now, because he hasn't been able to come to do as advertised, I'd have to say that right now that depending on what happens, but maybe Irvin. I mean, Irvin did not figure to be the guy coming out of the bullpen, and he's been, reasonably effective. Right. He may be the guy you run out there next. I mean, as a matter of fact, I almost thought that he might not have been a good guy to run out against the Yankees. But I think right now, if you deviate from where you are, look, we're sitting here critiquing a team that's 22 games over 500. I mean, and it's not August yet. So
we're splitting hairs.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
that.
And
I got one more topic before we take our break, our first break of the show. DL Hall. I've been preaching for a few years now because I remember when I used to literally debate Kevin Malone, the assistant general manager of the Orioles, about Arthur Rhodes. And I was of the opinion that Arthur was a reliever waiting to happen. And he'd say, oh, no, his stuff's too good. He's going to be a great starter. I proved to be right that one time. When I see DL Hall, all I see is relief pitcher. I know I'm somewhat obsessed with that notion of turning really good arms into relief pitchers. What do you see with him, and where do you think he fits in now, where he's in Florida deloading?
Right now, to be honest with you, the way because right now he's a mystery man.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on there. So I've seen him. I've seen his arm. His arm is more electric than maybe anybody.
Anybody we have on this team.
I think the comparison to Rhodes is a good one, but Rhodes. I mean, I know a little bit about Rhodes because I get to know Wally Moon when Rhodes pitched for him, and there were,
where was
Rhodes,
that? Where's that?
It was at Frederick.
Frederick, that's right.
And he got promoted. Arthur and Petey Rose were really good buddies, and
Pete Rose Jr.
Right.
Yeah.
And when he got promoted to Hagerstown, he didn't want to go because he was comfortable.
Yeah.
And I remember Moon telling me, he told him, Arthur, you're not going because you earned it. You're going because you're too good for this league.
Yeah.
And the problem, as it turned out, he ended up not being a starter, and they thought he'd make a closer, and he wasn't a good closer.
For that. No, he wasn't.
So, so here's the thing. If we're looking at a guy, if you're looking to develop a guy, and the old Looney thing is over with, I mean, at least for now, if they stay with the rules, you're not going to just come in and pitch against left-handers.
Right.
So going back to Hall right now, if you ask me, I mean, right now that looks to me like a trade chip waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and I hate to say it because the arm is too good. And again, he's been in this organization a year longer than. In fact, I think he's out of options. I don't think he has any options left. That's how long he's been around. He's been around since 17.
Right.
So this is, we're basically in the 7th season since then.
Right.
So.
All right. Jim Henneman continues after this break. Go to PressBoxOnline.com /offers now. Excuse me. Go to PressBoxOnline.com /offers now and get $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings after placing your first $5 bet. See this and other great sportsbook offers at PressBoxOnline.com /offers.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. One of the most special nights of the season on Friday the 4th, Navy Night. Come celebrate the newest plebe class. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday with our pregame Touch a Truck event. And it's the last of our big hitter bobbleheads, Colton Cowser on Sunday for the first 750 fans. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
Soak up summertime fun in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouth-watering eats, and endless entertainment. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards. Pick crabs by the waterfront. Beat the heat inside a world-class museum and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Dave Ginsburg remembers Goose as he looks back on the impact that late Tony Saragusa had both on and off the field here in Baltimore. Plus, he explains how Goose's kids are working to continue that legacy with the Goose Flights program. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles the path Tyler Wells has taken to becoming a star in the Orioles rotation. And you'll find a special summer travel guide with information about events and activities throughout the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
Not exactly Glenn. It's the best representation of Glenn they can get here at Pressbox. Stan the Fan back here on a Friday morning. We're talking with Jim Henneman. Jim, do you want to hang with us when we talk to Devereaux from 11 to 11:20? You're more than welcome.
No,
to.
I mean, I think
Okay.
you'll be fine. I mean, not that I would love to
I
hang out with
understand what
you.
you're
but
saying.
I think you'll be fine with these.
Hey, I want to take what's it called? A view from the sky down on what the Orioles have accomplished. When Mike Elias was brought in, a lot of us didn't know exactly what to make of him or how he would do. But your assessment now, what's this, the fifth season that he's been the GM?
This is the fifth year. And you got to throw out a year.
Yeah.
There was no minor leagues.
Yep.
So
your assessment on what he's accomplished.
I was thinking about this today. Now, if you stop and think about this, and this is, first of all, I love what they've done. I love draft the athletes. I mean, even though we all know pitching's the name of the game.
Yeah.
I'm 100% on board with drafting the athletes ahead of the pitchers because
too much risk.
I used to kid Joe Jordan. It's like the three S's. Scout them, sign them, and then schedule surgery. I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But having said that, they're 5 years. I mean, 19. This is the fifth year.
Yep.
And if you go back and look at the track records of teams that have been through this is about the time for last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing about it that I think we do tend to overlook, and here's the thing, and I don't think this particular team, and I did a column earlier, and people, because I took advantage of the early part of the century, saying that I thought this would be the most exciting team of this century for this team, and I really do believe that. Having said that, when you stop and think about it, you have the catcher, and you have Henderson, you have Gunnar, and you have Adley.
Yep.
And for the most part, this system that we're all excited about is still in the early development stages. I mean, we couldn't wait to get Callister up here. We couldn't wait to get Westberg up here. But thank God for the Fraziers and thank God for the Urias and and the fact that this was an outfield that is. I mean, this
That's
is all
really
from
grown into a really nice.
And I guess the point that I want to make is that I will say this for Mike often used the term. The cupboard was bare. The cupboard wasn't as bare as everybody thought it was.
Yeah.
There's.
Dan left them with
I'm not
decent
saying
players.
I'm not saying they were all franchise players. I don't mean that.
Yeah.
But the Hayeses and Mullins and the Santanders and that crowd. Even John Means, who everybody, you know, that's the other thing. I mean, I would be surprised if they got anything out of him this year. I just don't think. Number one, they're going to be able to afford to just run him out there. So we'll see. But I mean, I think I think you can certainly tell there's much more to come with Westburg. There's certainly more to come with Gunnar. You know, Calzer has really not scratched the surface yet.
Herstad is
a one. I mean, I was told a good friend of mine who's seen Norfolk scout, who seen Norfolk recently. Said they are loaded. He said they could almost feel. He said without pitching, other than pitching, said they could feel the big league team almost down there. He said they are loaded, and Herstad is the guy. And see, Herstad at this point, but there's not room for Herstad and Calzer together. And Calzer was the guy that everybody was talking about in the beginning, and I think Herstad is a 40-man thing on top of it. So. The numbers are just not going to be there to allow everybody to be here at the same time.
Have you caught a glimpse live of Kobe Mayo?
No, but I tell you what, everybody I talk to, including this scout, loves Kobe Mayo. And he's only 21 years old. He's Gunner's age.
And he's a AAA now.
And he's a AAA and doing well.
I got to tell you, I've seen him twice. This, in my opinion, and I don't put myself up there with a major league scout, certainly. He's the best power hitting prospect I've ever seen the Orioles develop.
That's kind of the word that you get. And and I said I haven't seen him. I saw a game where he played in Aberdeen, but I don't remember.
Luke and I went to Aberdeen last year when Rutschman was coming back. And I saw him hit the first 3 times, and for some reason that starter was still in the game in the 7th inning. And I turned to Luke. I said, well, he's seen this guy. Luke and I went to the game. I said, Luke, he's seen this guy 3 times. I think he should be able to pick. I was saying pick one out. I got the word pick out, and there was this noise. And I turned around, and it was one of those sort of McGuire-esque moonshots. I mean, Then I went to see him 3-4 weeks ago at Bowie, did the same thing again.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you remember the name of the guy that pitched against him 4 times? Because I think maybe I might like to have him in a rotation.
That's a good point.
Or on the staff.
I do not remember that guy.
And what team was he playing for? Because
what he was playing, I think he was in Indian farm system, Cleveland Indians, if they have a team in that league.
Listen, I want to one other thing because we kind of tap danced around this before. We were talking about a pitcher. The one pitcher that is out there that I again, and this is going to be a rental. But I've been told that Blake Snell is the best pitcher in the National League right now. And he's apparently going to be available, and of course, and the Hader's out there, and who's a local guy. But you're not going to do all of this, but it would be interesting to see what they might be able to do. Listen, I had more to. I mean, because I talked to some people in Cooperstown. And more than one person said, their system is good enough that they could have got Ohtani if they were willing to spend it. And I said, well, if John, was going to say, hey, well, here's my commitment. I'm going to pay this guy $10 million for the next 2 months. But you can't strip the farm bare.
Hey, we've got about 10 minutes, and I want to get to Cooperstown because your yearly pilgrimage to Cooperstown was made. But I do want to ask you one other thing. We're talking about what a great farm system this is now. We have yet to see the proceeds from the investment in international.
Right.
Do you expect in 2 or 3 years that there might be 1 or 2 either starting pitcher and a position player? When do you think that really could pay off?
Well,
because Kobe Perez is a pretty well-respected
guy. The 19-year-old catcher that's right on the top. I mean, he's not a AAA yet.
No,
but he from everything you say,
he's supposed to be.
He's one. He's young. I mean, he's still
19. I think
he's still real young. So that's the only international. But I agree with you. They haven't really. Adley and Gunnar are the prospects of that from this system. Now it's only like that literally that's like a not even a mosquito bite. I mean it's not even that's hardly anything.
Right.
So
Hey, you wrote a great column about the induction of Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland, and you weave such a great story about their paths getting there. Talk a little bit about the emotions from this year going up to Cooperstown.
Well, it's great. First of all, going up to Cooperstown for an induction is always, it's always a thrill of the year for me. I mean, I've been fortunate to be involved in some different committees up there, and it's just I just love the setting. McGriff is the one. I mean, because I saw him a whole lot more than I did Rowland. The thing, and of course, the argument always was, and I listened to Brian Kenny do his thing on, well, how could you guys? It's always you guys. What took you so long? I mean, well, here I can tell you what took you so long, because you go back and I looked at Fred McGriff's thing. Fred McGriff was on the ballot 10 years. I'd say 10 years. On the 10 years that he was on the ballot, there was at least 8 other Hall of Fame, 8 other people who are in the Hall of Fame now,
slam dunkers,
who were on the ballot when he was on.
Right.
And that I'm not excusing, saying somewhere along the line there should have been room for him, but somewhere along the line he did make a big jump. Yeah. Which had nothing to do with it. The fact that he was a unanimous selection from the veteran made the writers look really, really stupid. Now I always voted for him. Rowland, I was kind of on the fence about, but you know what? I went back and looked at his stuff, and then I've had one person who I have a lot of respect for, who would, and I can't say the name because who compared him to Brooks defensively, and I said, well, if you can put him in the same sentence with Brooks, I got to consider some of this other stuff. And the man had 900 extra base hits, so 900 plus extra base hits. That's a lot of extra base hits.
That is a lot of
so.
How many years was he in the big league? 16?
Something like that. And he had 8. And like people say, well, he only had 8 Gold Gloves with Brooks. I said, but in fairness to the thing, sometimes you're in.
Yeah, you don't control that.
I mean, how do you think that Clete Boyer and Craig Nails? How do they feel? Or Roy O'Reilly? I mean, how many Gold Gloves would they win in a normal scenario? So, and McGriff is just such a delightful person, and there's a couple of wonderful stories. There was a wonderful story on Rowland with a 9-year-old kid that just impacted. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Mo Gaba thing. And this is 2004. This is a long time ago. But, who he has stayed, and it's his Indiana roots, and the kid, they somehow made contact with Rowland, and then at the same time made a contact with this kid with Peyton Manning, and then Manning and Rowland got together, and they've raised millions of dollars, and this, it's kind of a cool story, and I remember putting it on Facebook, and I said, make sure you got your Kleenex, because it's one of those things. So it was small class this year, but the induction was great. The crowd, the size is off. I mean, at this point now they thought maybe they would have 15,000, which if you remember was the crowd number for Brooks's when Brooks went in, which was the largest of any. Now they kind of gear everything to when Cal went in, 30, and Jeter and those guys went in. But it was a great ceremony. The speeches were great. I mean, I thought the way Rowland went through his career, and it was pretty cool. He said, I'm a Jasper Wildcat, I'm an Indiana Hoosier, I'm a Philadelphia Philly, I'm a Toronto Blue Jay, I'm an Atlanta Brave, I'm an everything. And there were people from all those cities. He was well represented from people from all those cities. It was really cool.
What did you closed the thing, I think, or he closed his speech about something his dad had told him?
Oh, that was, well, what it was, he said when he was a kid, he was playing basketball, and he went to his dad, and he said, I'm no good. I can't, I'm terrible. I mean, he said, I can't pass, I can't dribble, I can't shoot, I can't. He said, his dad said, well, okay. He said, okay, go, okay. And he said, well, you told me what you can't do. And he said, what can you do? And I said, well, I can play some defense, and I guess I can rebound. And I can dive on the floor and get loose balls, which, we can always use. And Dad said, well, do that then. That's all. We'll do that then. And so, and this is even hard to say. And so, his foul line was, now he's in the Hall of Fame, and he said, well, Dad, I did that then. It was cool.
It's a great, very cool, very cool moment.
It was, the speeches were great. Like I said, I've been around McGriff a little bit more. I know a little bit more about McGriff because of John Sherrills. John's a close friend from all those years back, and all those people, and Rick Vaughn, who had McGriff at Tampa Bay.
Right.
I mean, everybody says this guy is just so off the charts, and that's exactly the way he comes across. I don't know him. I met him. I got an interesting story. It's an interesting story. I haven't really told this story to too many people. We have a few minutes.
We got about 4 or 5 minutes.
So after the Saturday night thing, I have a ritual down there where things are kind of in between things, and I go down by the lake, by the hotel, and just sit at, around the, late in the afternoon or sunset, and just sit on the thing and kind of take the whole thing in. And so I'm down there. And this little girl comes in, and she, maybe about 6 years old, and she kind of runs around. She's kind of scoping out the old guy sitting on a bench and stuff like that. Then, nothing said, and she leaves, and she came back and sat down on the bench. It was a long bench for like about people, and just sat there, just sat there. Cutest little thing. And I thought, absolutely no conversation. She just, we just looked around, and I'm thinking, I'm this poor girl. I don't want our parents saying, what's she doing hanging out with this old guy sitting on a bench? So an hour and a half or so later, I'm back inside with Jack O'Connell and some of the other BBWA writers.
Right.
And Derek Jeter comes over and starts talking to them. And I had never really met Jeter. I went to introduce myself to him. He said, I owe you an apology. And I'm like, you owe me an apology? He said, I got to apologize for my daughter coming down and sitting on the bench.
Oh, my God. It was Derek's daughter.
It was Derek Jeter's daughter.
That's great.
And so I said to him, well, you tell your daughter, as long as she has her parents' permission, she can sit on a bench with me anytime. And he said, oh, she'll track you down. So,
speaking of that bench, wasn't that the great story last year when Tim Kirchin went in, that Johnny Bench took him out there basically to look at that same lake?
Well, what they do that is on the veranda of the hotel.
Okay, the veranda of the hotel.
But that's kind of a tradition that Bench has done with. He did that with Cal. I remember Cal telling that story.
Yeah.
And
I did not know that.
Cal told the story one time about Bench said when we get him in, and he thought it was a hazing thing. He thought it was like one of those things with Cal. Cal told this story up in a different setting in Cooperstown several years ago, and he said finally Bench grabbed him and he went out and sat him down, and he said, I just want you to, he said, now just sit here and look at this for take it in for 5 minutes or something. So that's apparently been a Bench tradition, and I was happy that he did it, and Bench went out of his way to go to Timmy's thing last year, which is really cool.
Yeah, Bench is a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
Last thing, for years I thought the guy that belonged in the Hall that had gotten overlooked was Tony Oliva. Right. And they finally righted that. Right. The last couple of years when I was doing some of the MASN work, we'd have some talks around the Hall of Fame, and I got to look intimately at Billy Wagner's numbers. He's not past the 10 years yet.
Yeah.
Is he going to make it
next year?
I think so,
yeah. I think so. I think there's enough people. Ron Darling, from the get-go, was a guy that came out and said, you look at Trevor Huffman, the difference between Trevor Huffman and Billy Wagner is 1 year and the name on the award.
Yeah.
So the thing with Wagner is apparently not quite. And if you go back and look, Wagner left at the top of the game. I mean, his last year was
off
a blowout.
The charts.
Yeah. So
he pitched something like, Jim, am I right? It's something like 1,400 innings.
I don't know.
It was like the hits to innings pitched.
Yeah.
It's 300 or 400 less hits to innings pitched, and his WHIP is slightly better than Mariano Rivera's.
But his inning, I don't off the top of my head, I don't know. I
can look it up. I don't know why
but he has. I think he had one. They just said I remember people saying it wasn't quite long. It wasn't. It was a year less than. But
I just want to look up his innings pitched, and then we'll end up.
But I know the other stuff, the WHIP and the strikeouts and hits and all that stuff are really off the charts.
Here we go. Hold on.
Yeah.
He threw. Of course, it doesn't. Why doesn't it say that there? Hold on.
Yeah.
Here it is. He threw a total of 903 innings,
That's what it is.
601 hits.
Yeah, he's like 100. He's like 100 innings short.
16. No, wait a minute. 1,196 strikeouts in 903 innings.
Yeah, the innings is the big thing with him. It's not, if he had 100 more innings,
Jim.
No, I think he'll make it. Yeah, you do.
Jim, really appreciate your coming in and sharing some thoughts on the Oriole rebuild, trade situations, and finally the Hall of Fame.
All right, well, give Debo my best, and
all right,
I'm sure he'll be great. He did a good job on the broadcast booth. I'm curious to see how he.
You at the ballpark tonight?
I'm planning to be there, but I'm going to tell you something. This weather may
be careful.
Get me out of there. Be
all
good.
Right. All right. Thank you, Jim. He's the one, the great Jim Henneman, who still writes as good a baseball column as there is in the business. Thanks for coming in. Do we have Mike Devereaux in? Okay. I'll just tell you that PressBox, before we go to it, PressBox is offering new sports bettors the best signing bonuses and promos from 7 legal online sports books. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now and get offers like $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings after placing your first $10 bet, or up to $1,250 in bonus bets from Caesars. Time is limited to get the best offers from all of the sports books. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and sign up today. Joining us now is number 12 on the back of his uniform and number 1 in your hearts. It's Mike Devereaux, former outfielder of the Baltimore Orioles and a Orioles Hall of Famer. Mike Devereaux joins us. Mike, how are you?
Great. How you guys doing?
I know you're doing great, and I'm sorry to start this off on a sad note. I know during the broadcast you got word when you were doing the 3 games last 10 days ago or so that you found out your brother had passed. How's the family holding up? How's the family holding up?
Well, everybody's hanging in there. It's always tough. It was definitely unexpected. So we're still obviously in our minds and still reeling from it. So it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, very unfortunate. I hope it didn't take too much of the luster off of what you did a couple weekends ago, being part of the broadcast team here. How did that come about? And I know you got 3 more games going to do. How did you think it went?
Well, as far as how it came about, I just got the call and I was asked, and I was very excited to be able to do that. And it was fun. It was really fun. I enjoyed my time up there with Ben and Kevin, and it was great seeing how good the Orioles were doing and winning all those games against Miami and seeing how they were playing. It's a really exciting time for me. I loved it. Can't wait till next month.
And you've got 3 more games, right, in August?
Yes.
Which games are those?
August 8th, 9th, and 10th against Houston.
Against Houston. So it's games here in Baltimore. Okay.
Yes.
Let me ask you, when you worked this year, you came into spring training, was it for 3 or 4 days as a coach?
It was for a week.
For a week. Okay. Did you have any idea this team was capable of what they're doing now? Did you sort of get back from it one day after practice, say this team's got a chance to be pretty darn good, or is this a shocker to you?
Well, I knew they were doing well towards the end of last part of last season. I knew that, but without seeing the guys and being there, you never know. But after bringing spring training, you kind of got the feeling of the excitement and the camaraderie from the guys, and seeing that there's definitely a possibility for the overflow from last year to knowing that they had the capability of competing at the highest level of this game.
Is anything in particular surprised you about this team when you think back to spring training and see the sort of product it is today?
I guess it'd have to be that everybody seemed to have a part. I guess when I look at it, the respect for everything that was going on, and just the confidence that everybody had. I think that was something that I saw those guys that that was impressive.
All right. Mike, this broadcasting thing, how did Kevin and Ben treat you? Did they make you feel at home?
Oh, they're great. Yes, they did. They made me feel real comfortable. I mean, obviously, I'd never done it before in my life, so I'm still trying to get used to it, and I had no idea how complex it actually was, and all the things that go on with Don, and it was amazing to just see how the engine rolled, how it moved.
Yeah, it does move. Ben McDonald, you were a teammate of his, of course, when he broke in. Would you have ever seen him in that role back then, when you think back on him sort of coming in as a Louisiana kid, wrestling alligators and all that? He's pretty darn good at this, isn't he?
He is. He's got that twang, right, and that likability, and the gift of gab, and the flow that he has. I mean, obviously, when I first met him, you never know, but I can see how it happened, and the flow that he goes, and his intelligence of the game.
You were part of the Orioles when the stadium first opened up. Tell our listeners that are listening in today, I guess that's what listeners do, what Baltimore means to Mike Devereaux.
First of all, when I knew I was traded to Baltimore, I was like, knew nothing about the city. Obviously, I knew about Cal and Frank and the players, Boog and Palmer and all those guys, but I didn't know anything about the city. And so when I came here, it was just totally fresh. And I knew that they really supported the Orioles, and I looked into it, and I knew they averaged like $33,000 a game, or fans as far as capacity, Memorial.
Yep.
And then when we moved into Camden Yards, it was just incredible. I remember Brady and I walking in, coming back from spring training. They had that one left field lights, bank of lights on, and we just looked at each other and just, a tear came to my eye about how amazing it actually looked.
Yeah. And
then with the crowds that came in, the excitement of it, and I never played a game here that wasn't sold out, and that was impressive. And you look at the stadium's pretty old right now, right?
Yeah.
And it's still the best that there is around. I mean, it set a precedence for all the stadiums that are being built right now, and it's still just as clean and gorgeous as it from day one, even better now.
Mike, so since you had the coaching hat on early in spring training, and now that you're kind of watching from the broadcast point of view, how big of a role, being around Brandon Hyde, like how big of a role, how much credit do you think he should kind of get for this turnaround, that we've seen with the Orioles?
Well, it starts with him, as far as Brandon, the way he goes about the team and how the team respects him, and it's just a great thing when you see something like that happen, when everybody's on the same page, and Brandon has brought these guys together and made them be able to compete, and that's exactly what they're doing. I remember with Frank the same way, and I just see similarities of what a manager can do to insinuate and just make the team better.
It's interesting. It seemed at the time a small thing, but in the pandemic season, Mike, you remember how many teams had COVID outbreaks? And, COVID outbreaks back then were, for the most part, if you didn't follow the protocols, that's when you risked infecting the rest of your team with COVID. The Orioles didn't have one blip that year, and I always attributed to how much respect the players had for Brandon and for being a Baltimore Oriole at the time. What it meant to them. Thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't. Oh, go ahead. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But that goes to show you. I had no idea that happened. But that goes to show you the respect that they have for Brandon.
Yeah. Well,
he's a leader. And there you go.
I hadn't thought about it in a long time until you said how much they respected Brandon, and it hit me with that. Who pitched? Do you remember the 3 games you did? Who pitched for the Orioles? Did you do one of Grayson's? Did you do one of Grayson's games?
Unfortunately, I can't remember. But the news I got threw me kind of a foggy. I know Kramer. I did see one of his games.
Right. Your thoughts on what you've seen out of these starters?
I saw them pitching to contact.
Yep.
And the thing is, when that keeps the defense going, it keeps them on their toes, and that's what I saw. Making sure not very long innings, not a lot of walks, and that's what I saw. Making the guys put the ball in play, making the defense behind them work.
Devo, you were part of some trade, deadline deals in the past. What does a trade do for a team that's pretty good? Do the players does it give them a jolt like, hey, we're really trying to win now because we picked up, name the player, we picked up X?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Especially when you're on the run and, you might, there's just that little piece that's going to help everybody. And I think if it works out that way and the players are saying, okay, hey, here it is, let's go, it's time now, we're on a roll. And as for me, a guy that was traded during that time, it hyped me also. So
yeah.
For the players that come in, it hypes them too.
Now, who were you traded to at deadlines where you were? I know the Braves were one team you got dealt to, right, at the deadline?
Yeah, that was the only team I got traded to. I wasn't involved in any trade during the season besides the Braves.
And did you win some postseason award like MVP of a series or something like that? I seem to recall that.
Yes, I did. MVP of the National Championship Series against the Cincinnati Reds. And my feeling when I came in, with the Braves, they'd won all those years before. And
right.
I remember I told my parents, I'm like, I'm about to go to the World Series. That's the first thing I said.
Yep.
And that thought was, going to a team that actually wants you, first of all.
Yep.
And then saying, okay, the fact that they actually want me, I want to prove to them that they were right on this move.
Yep. When you look back on what year did you play for the Braves?
That was in 95.
95. Does it surprise you what they've been able – now, I think they've won one World Series in all that time. Or no, two World Series because they just won one. But does it –
No, they won one in 95 and then 2001 or 21.
21, right. So two World Series in all that time. Does it surprise you, though, that they've sort of been I guess along with the Dodgers, the shining lights as to how to develop a team? Does it surprise you that they're still so very good?
Sometimes when you get that good feeling, it rolls along, and obviously, it helps with draft picks and your minor league system and all that, and getting that winning attitude, and sometimes it keeps going. Obviously, teams aren't going to win the World Series all the time, but teams can stay successful, keeping with the same thought process, the same work ethics. And I think the Braves have done that, along with the Dodgers.
We're talking with Mike Devereaux. Griff, you got another question?
Yeah, just since it's your stomping ground, the outfield, the Orioles outfield. When healthy, they've looked like one of the best outfields in baseball, and anchored by Cedric Mullins. Obviously, how important do you think it is, to get Cedric Mullins back and have him healthy? At the season that he's had and the way that he's able to kind of command the outfield for the O's.
Well, I think I'm biased, of course, because I'm an outfielder, but I think outfield is defensive play of outfielders is very, very important when it comes to the mindset of pitchers. And this is just me talking, because you have somebody like Cedric out there and the other guys out there that. And I remember when Brady and I were playing out there, we're like, we are not going to let a ball hit the grass. And the more great plays, defensive plays you make as an outfielder, the better the pitcher is as far as pitching to contact and not knowing or not thinking that he has to strike everybody out. So that's the way I look at it. So I see that in the Orioles this year, with Hayes out there and Anthony and all those guys. I just see that defense being strong.
We're talking with Mike Devereaux, former Oriole player, member of the Orioles Hall of Fame, now an Oriole broadcaster. We hope that happens more often in the years ahead. Mike, you've got the 3 games more this season. You got August 8th, 9th, and 10th. All 3 of those games are here in Baltimore against the Houston Astros. Have you been following the Astros a little bit? Do you pay a little bit more as prepping for this develops? Is it important for you to kind of follow the opponent as well?
It has been important, but it's been difficult because I've just spent the last week in Cooperstown with my son, coaching him and other tournaments that I go to, and I try to get back and watch the games, but it's hard because I only get the highlights and all that. Is the time an issue because of that? But I definitely try to educate myself to see what's going on. I'm going to do a lot more since I've gotten back because we left Cooperstown this morning.
What your son is 14 now? 15?
He's 12.
He's 12.
He's 12, playing 11U.
Does he have the Devereaux skill set? How fast is he?
Well, I think he's better, to be honest with you. I think the fact that he goes like to spring training with the Orioles this year, and he really concentrates on the hitters, and he has his favorite players. And like he talked to Adley in the cages in spring training, and Adley was so great with the questions that my son had and the answers that he had. And he really studies the game. He's super fast. He loves the outfield like me. He's a left-hander, and he pitches. Anthony Telford is his pitching coach, and Anthony keeps joking with me, saying he's going to be a PO and all that.
So you think he could be could he be an Ohtani, a left-handed Ohtani?
Now you're talking about the best player in the game. Now it would be great. Yeah. Great. Great if he was.
And you'd serve as his agent and get that $600 million contract, right?
You better believe it.
All right. Hey, Devo, thanks for joining us today. Not tuning in with us. Thanks for joining us today. And again, my condolences on your loss. Okay.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
You've been a good friend. You've been a good friend over the years, and I look forward to seeing you more. And I'll definitely look forward to seeing you August 8th, 9th, and 10th in the broadcast booth for MASN. Okay. Take care, Mike.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. You guys too. Take care.
There you have it. Griff, we've got a couple minutes now. Should we take a break or should we straddle?
That's a really good question. I say we can. I say we just hang out here.
We can. Hang out.
We'll be joined by Daz Cameron from the Tides shortly. But Mike, he brings up the points he makes about Brandon Hyde, obviously, and the way the Orioles defense kind of plays, and that stretches to the infield as well. I mean, when they play good defense, they're typically winning baseball games.
Right.
So it's I know you're not really one, I guess, dig in on the lineups, but it's what does your best infield, I guess, kind of look like?
Well, my best infield is actually on games that Mountcastle's going to play and O'Hearn's going to play. I'm really shocked that Brandon Hyde, I don't think he has ever played Mountcastle over O'Hearn defensively when they've both been in the game. Now, it might have something to do with Ryan coming back from the vertigo, that he just feels this is an easier way to break him in, but he has played him a couple games at first base. But Mountcastle would be defensively my best first baseman. I think Westberg is my second baseman defensively. Gunnar has been so great at both positions, and the way that Mateo is playing now, I don't think he's as good as a utility guy coming off the bench. Like that double clutch the other night in Philly.
Right.
I don't think he makes that if he's the starting shortstop every day around it.
Yeah.
I think it's all a little jittery coming into the game.
What is Mateo's future on the team like right now at this point?
Well, everybody talked about how it was so easy to give him up. It would be interesting. What would you do? Now, the Orioles are so deep in the minor leagues, you could have brought up Ortiz the next day, but when Henderson got hurt, it sure felt good to have Mateo on the team right now. I don't think he's got a long future with the team, but he is an interesting utility player if he can get more used to playing, coming in like situations like that. Do you agree with me, first of all? Does he make that double clutch?
Yeah,
he's playing every day?
I don't think so, because that was kind of the thing. I think I brought it up with Ken the other day, is like it seems like his confidence is seemed to really kind of be shot right now. He doesn't know when he's going to be in the lineup. He comes in the 8th. He's an 8th, 9th inning replacement since Gunnar gets hurt. And, it's unfortunate for him, and it unfortunately looks like it's hurting the team right now, too.
So purely defensively, I would have Mountcastle at first, Westberg at second, Mateo at short, and Henderson at third. Well, there I go. Defensively, Urias is a better third baseman. So if we're talking who I'm going to play every day, right now, because you face 70% right-handed pitchers, I'm going to probably play O'Hearn most days. I really like Westberg, what I've seen of him, but Frazier gets some big hits, so that's a sort of a semi-platoon for me right now at second, with Westberg playing a couple days a week, maybe at third as well, with Henderson, Mateo at short and Henderson at third. That's kind of my team right now in the infield. All right, we're now joined by somebody who was the 37th pick in his year of the draft. He was drafted by the Houston Astros many, many moons ago, and that's Daz Cameron. Daz, thank you for joining us. I'm Stan the Fan, and Griffin is the producer of the show. We appreciate your joining us.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for you guys having me on, man. I'm excited to see and answer some questions here. Here's some questions that you guys may have for me to answer them. So, yeah, man.
So Daz, my first question for you is, you've been at this since 2015 in the minors. You're at the highest level of the minor leagues. What would you say about your career at this point in time? How would you describe what it's been like in developing?
Over the past years, past 2-3 years, of course, you guys know, some of you may know that I've been with Detroit, but I would definitely say that it has been a journey for me to continue to play the game that I love, and I'm doing that now, and I'm thankful that I have God-given ability to keep doing it at the highest point of baseball, and to do it, consistently. So, but as far as the game itself, there's so many things that I've been able to learn and continue, to grow in, and that may not just be in the developmental part, but that's all. But one thing that I've seen learn about how to play winning baseball, and I think that the Orioles do a great job of explaining a lot of that today.
Daz, how would you describe the Orioles since Mike Elias has been brought in there? And how, first of all, let me ask you that. How familiar are you, and how well do you know Mike? Because I'm sure he was at Houston when you were drafted.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with him. He actually came to my house, maybe 2-3 months before the draft, and then we sat down and ate and talked. So he's very personal guy, and I kind of know him from that. But as far as himself, I think that he's good GM. He actually wants to get to know some of the players that he does draft, and he does a good job, as you guys can see.
Hey, Daz, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we try and call you back? You're in a zone where we're getting an awful lot of static. Can my producer call you right back? Okay. That's what we're going to try and do with Daz Cameron. I don't know whether it's where he's driving or whatever, but the static was just off the charts. I couldn't understand much of what he said. We were going to do that a moment earlier in the interview, and all of a sudden the static went away, and then it came back immediately when we decided not to call him. We're talking to Orioles outfielder Daz Cameron. He's playing right now for Norfolk. This year he's hit 271 with a 353 on base, a 483 slugging percentage, and 836 OPS. He's got 15 doubles, 14 homers, and 50 runs batted in. We're going to be rejoined by Daz Cameron in just a moment. All right. All right. Sounds like we've got him back and we got a better connection. All right, Daz, sorry to do that to you, but I don't think I couldn't hear personally, and I don't think our listeners could. You were talking about Mike and your familiarity with him.
Yes. So actually, but a couple months before the draft, Mike actually came to my house, and we all sat down, we ate dinner right before the draft. So I got to know him from that standpoint of who he was personally, and I think that Mike, he does a good job of wanting to know the players and who they are before he decides to make his picks. But as far as like a GM, man, you can see that he's done a good job as far as that.
No question about it. Daz, you personally, I'm looking at your numbers in your 2 AAA seasons. I mean, the most 2 recent AAA seasons. In 2022, you struck out 123 times and walked just 37 times. This year, to date, you've struck out only 66 times and walked 29 times. That's quite an improvement on your part. It shows in your on-base percentage last year, or in 2022, was 312. This year, you're 353. That's pretty darn hard to do once you're kind of established in habits. How did you work on that? Was it something that the Orioles and hitting instructors focused you on more? Because it certainly seems to have made you a much more valuable player.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's it just goes to the work that I've always improved in the batting cage, of being consistent and wanting to establish the strike zone awareness, and doing that with with seeing how I've been able to plan and execute before even going and stepping in the batter's box. And that dictates what the pitcher's throwing that it be, and wanting to get a good pitcher hitting the zone. And the Orioles have done an even better job with helping me implement that even more. And I think that now it's starting to show, starting to come to fruition a lot more now that I'm comfortable in, some adjustments that I've made with being able to, in my setup and approach, that's allowed my eye to be a lot more comfortable to put a good swing on the ball when it's thrown in the zone, for me to hit it, hard through the gap somewhere in the outfield there.
Well, I don't mean to talk down to you at all, but you should be very proud of that accomplishment, because I'll tell you what, I've been following baseball a long time, and once a player gets into that habit of not addressing strike zone discipline, it's really, really tough to be a productive Major League Baseball player.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with that, especially in the game nowadays, man. A lot of guys are throwing harder, but the more that you're able to swing at strikes, and then obviously take balls that are not in the strike zone, and obviously everything else just goes up if you continue to work your plan and trust in that.
Do you have any doubts that you can play Major League Baseball at this point in your career, Mike?
Yeah, I'm Daz, but yeah, no, I don't. No, there's no doubt. I'm only, I'm 26. A lot of guys don't even make the big leagues until they're 27, 28. Yep. But I definitely do think, yes, I think that I'm a valuable player, and I can, play in today's game with ease, and there's just an opportunity to be waiting for me to go and accomplish that when it's time for me, and my feet are in that place as far as spiritually, and when the opportunity presents itself.
And so, Daz, kind of going off the Mike Elias question from earlier, what was kind of going through your mind? Obviously, the Orioles claimed you off waivers last winter. So, what was kind of going through your mind when you first saw that you'd be heading to Baltimore and be part of this organization?
I knew that there was going to be a lot of competition, and I feel as far as heading to spring training, and I knew that it would make me a better baseball player from the first step, that I walk in the clubhouse, and that was my initial thought. And I had just been coming off of a season, in Detroit where, a there are a lot of the organization guys that made some changes and thought that Baltimore would be a perfect change of scenery for me to go in and continue to build my career and my journey with Baltimore here. So glad that I'm able to do that now.
Being down there in spring training, what was it like to kind of work with some of the guys? Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, all those big league guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a blessing. Understanding, what their approach was and how they kind of, go about their business. I was able to see that. I was able to talk to Cedric a little bit about how he's able to continue his routine throughout the day and what things that get him going. And he's obviously one of the best guys, better guys in the league as far as defense and offensive. So for me to talk to him, that was definitely a plus. And to see Austin Hayes do his thing, man, I've learned a little bit about seeing him, watch his game grow in the past couple of years, and it was just all I was just taking it all in, man, just to be able to speculate and then add some things to my game that maybe didn't have at that time. And I think that for me, that was just the mentality of staying strong and being able and working my way back to the big leagues and to be a player, that could be productive.
Daz, if you were playing every day in the big leagues, I know you can probably play all three outfield positions. Are you like your dad? Are you a center fielder?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I can play center field, but I play every position. I take pride in my game as far as like defense and making sure that the ball doesn't drop. That's kind of something that I brought over to from Detroit with me when we had some outfitters you can go out there and catch it deep in the field. So I think that the same thing is what I'm trying to do and trying to accomplish doing that. But as far as my game, yeah, I kind of symbolize my game similar to my dad, but I try to be myself, man, and just continue to do that. So, but yeah, he's good, and there's some things that I learned along the way as far as shagging and BP and how to set yourself up to take the right routes and be able to take steps. But yeah, definitely, man. These guys are the best for a reason. I'm glad that I'm able to attach my name to it.
Speaking of your dad, by the way, longtime Major League outfielder Mike Cameron, what has it done for your career? You're being a kid that used to hang out in big league locker rooms. Did that sort of take the awe out of it? You knew what guys are like and what the grind is like?
Yeah, definitely. I just knew, from 10 to 12, I was around, clubhouse and the things that I learned as far as the game was about, was just being ready to play and what guys did during their routine. I mean, the game itself didn't really change in that state. The mentality, with the working hard and making sure that you're, constantly doing your work was definitely something that, every guy, need to do in order to definitely keep themselves in shape for a long season. And those were the little things that I learned over the course of time to continue to master my game.
And I mean, we talked about being down there in spring training, but I mean, the way the Tides have been playing this year, they've got one of the best AAA teams in all of AAA, all minor league baseball. And so, what's it like to be part of that clubhouse, playing alongside guys that are no doubt just as hungry as you to get to the big leagues?
Oh man, definitely. I mean, we're all definitely ready to continue to compete. And I mean, it's just an environment, a great environment, to have, these guys, everyone's wanting to definitely, make a name for themselves. And you can see that, from the top of the lineup to the end of the bench. We got a lot of guys that want to play in the league and are willing to do what it takes to do so, as far as winning. And you can see that a lot of everyone is ready to compete at some point in the big league. So we're in first place for a reason in AAA, and we got a good manager that's allowed himself to coach good in different situations that allow players to play at a high rate. When he coaches, obviously we can see that from what he's coached. But yeah, man, definitely. I mean, everyone is up to beat. Everyone's up to beat in Norfolk.
Hey,
definitely.
Daz, we had you on. We wanted to talk to you about you, but I got to ask you about a couple teammates that you've got down there at Norfolk. Put your scouting hat on and tell me a little bit about what's special about two players, Heston Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be special players, man. I mean, just to be able to just see them go about their day. I mean, they're professionals. I mean, you've seen guys who are, very productive and can do, some special things on the field, and I can definitely say that they're going to be some guys that can do that. Obviously, you got even Connor Norby. He's been improving, and he can hit. And I think that a lot of his game is good, and as well as Joey Ortiz.
I left them both out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but definitely, there's a lot of guys, man, they're going to be high productive players. I think in my head, but we'll definitely continue to grow, and we'll see. But as far as like now, Cheston, man, I think him as a baseball player catches my eye from the way that he drives the ball. But they're going to be good players, man. I think for the years to come.
Daz, before we let you go, let me just ask you one question about pitching. Give me one pitcher at Norfolk that we might not really know about, and you say, this guy's going to be pretty good.
A pitcher. A starting pitcher. I definitely, if I could say right now, a lot of the pitchers we went up to Baltimore Orioles. Grayson Rodriguez was a guy that was just a shutout guy.
Okay, that's a tougher question. It's a tougher question for you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe Noah Denorio. Or,
okay, that's a
maybe
good
he's
answer.
He's a guy that can, he throws a lot of strikes in the strike zone. He's able to, make weak contact, throws to make weak contact. A couple other guys that I see, that could possibly, be some horses, some studs to be able to lean on. But I think there's some in the making. So let's just keep an eye out, guys.
All right, you just got Cade Povich, who was acquired by the Orioles last year, but I doubt you've seen him yet. Griffin's got one more question for you, then we're going to let you get back to life as a baseball player.
And that's exactly what my question is going to be about, Stan. Good segue there. But yeah, we want to try to get to know Daz a little bit better. What are you doing on a day off? Like what are some of your hobbies that you're doing on a Monday when you're not playing baseball, Daz?
Most of the time, I just I'll go to the mall, walk around the mall a little bit, and then kind of just see things, what's around me, just to keep my legs moving, get the blood flowing in my legs for the next day. But after that, I'm coming back to the house to relax and chill, and then watch some TV and maybe stretch a little bit after that. And then if there's something exciting I do, I'll probably go and walk around the park and just go venture seeing. That's something that I'm always into. I'm into nature, so I like things like that. So,
nice.
Yeah.
What are you watching on TV typically?
Most of the time I watch Netflix. I'll watch any show that's on. Not any in particular. I'm just kind of most of the time like a guy that watches pretty much anything, action.
Gotcha.
A study of law show, like a law show.
Oh, okay.
Someone trying to figure out who is the victim and the little things like that. Like that interests me to be able to dissect that part of the the movie. But
if somebody wants to follow you on Twitter, what's your handle?
My handle is Daz_Cameron 16.
Okay.
So follow me and give me a follow and be sure to maybe tweet you.
All right. Sounds good, Daz. Really appreciate you joining the show, okay? And good luck the rest of this season and in the rest of your still blooming career, all right?
Thank you, man. Appreciate
Thank you. Thank you, Daz. All right, there we have it. Daz Cameron. Hey, I've changed up the format for my weekly shows. Now every Monday at 4 o'clock, I'll be joined by former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley and press box managing editor Luke Jackson to break down the latest with the Birds. Every Thursday night, myself and Gary Stein will still chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, they chatted with Superbook. Well, that's last week. This coming week, next Thursday, right? This week we talked
last
to Rob
night.
Ambrose.
Yeah.
We talked to him
so last
Wednesday
week.
night.
Yeah.
We changed it to Wednesday night this week. But next Thursday, we're going to talk to John Kelly, who's from the Kelly family. He is one of the Kelly benefits. He is he's the chair of the cycling classic coming up Labor Day weekend.
Excellent.
We'll talk to him next Thursday at Thursday. The O's play the Yankees starting tonight. 3 night games, by the way. Reminder that Sunday is night baseball. We're going to take a timeout right now, and when we get back, we'll be joined by Joe Battaglia, head football coach at Concordia Prep. We'll be right back. Catch that festival feeling in Charm City. Everywhere you go, you'll find exciting entertainment, delicious eats, and endless summertime fun. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards, pick crabs by the waterfront, beat the heat inside a world-class museum, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of A.J. Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
Your summer destination is closer than you think at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. With an expansive gaming floor and incredible dining options ready for you to explore, your adventure awaits. Dine at the new Coho Korean Barbecue House coming in July or on the patio at the Prime Rib. Enjoy the summertime breeze at Orchid Smoking Patio. Limited time packages starting at $229. What are you waiting for? Book now. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource, home to Easy Pass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com. We'll keep you moving.
The Orioles are off and running, out to prove that last season wasn't a fluke, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bat Around for Press Box. Tune in every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon as Zach Goodman and I break down every Adley bomb, every Tony Tater, and every save from the mountain. Like a warm hug from Rutschman, the Bat Around has you covered with all things Orioles as we embark on what's sure to be a magical summer in Birdland. So tune in every Saturday for the best in Orioles coverage right here on the Bat Around.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. One of the most special nights of the season on Friday the 4th, Navy Night. Come celebrate the newest plebe class. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday with our pregame Touch a Truck event. And it's the last of our big hitter bobbleheads, Colton Cowser on Sunday for the first 750 fans. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
That first sip, that first bite, Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
Stan the Fan back here on the show. Again, my last day of the week. Glenn Clark back in Monday after a week with the family down in, what's it, Dewey or Bethany? Is he Dewey or Bethany?
Bethany.
Bethany, okay. It's been a pleasure sitting in. Appreciate the opportunity by Glenn. Also, want to thank Ken Zales for helping out. He did the shows Wednesday and Thursday. I did Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. We are about to close out the week talking to an old friend, the son of somebody who was very special to me, and that's Buzz Battaglia, the late Buzz Battaglia. We are now joined by his son, Joe Battaglia, head coach at Concordia Prep. Joe, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on. Happy Mo Gabba Day, fellas.
Is today Mo Gabba Day?
It is.
Okay. Yeah. I saw it, the ads for it quite a bit. Speaking of Mo, who's no longer with us, Joe, your dad was a terrific friend to me and a terrific friend to the sports community in general at large. Does a day go by you don't think of Buzz, Coach Buzz?
Not a chance. Not a chance. And those are certainly happy thoughts. It's hard for a day to go by where someone doesn't remind me of my dad, Coach Buzz, as well. Obviously, just a big guy in the community that really cared a lot about mostly kids and using sports as a vehicle to help kids, be put into good situations. So certainly not. I was extremely lucky to have a dad like that, and also he coached me throughout the years as well. So
how's your mom doing?
Certainly.
How's your mom doing?
She's doing well.
Good.
Doing really well.
Please tell her I said hello, okay?
I certainly will.
Tell me the impact Buzz had on you. Would you be a football coach? Is there a chance in hell you'd be a football coach without Buzz being your dad?
I don't think so. As you know, my dad sold auto parts and he coached football. Yep. And so my brother kind of went into the automotive realm. He latched onto that in the business world, and I kind of latched onto the football piece pretty aggressively from the time I was a kid. I was just kind of a football junkie. And so, always just riding around with him all day long. I was the last of 6 kids, but just with his impact, it's almost like he had thousands and thousands of kids. And so I was always on the field with him, all the different places that he coached and all that kind of stuff. And it was almost like it was set from the start
Joe,
to be a football coach.
Joe, we've got Griffin Bass in here, and I'm going to turn it over to him to ask you some questions really about your team, okay? But I do want to ask you, a lot of people get their dream job, and I think you're pretty close to have your dream job now, but it wasn't always this easy for you and your family. Tell us where you've been. Put the pins on the map for Joe Battaglia's coaching career.
Ben, I don't know if you're up against a break. It's going to take a while on that one, but I'll try to speed through it as quick as I can.
Isn't it about 5 or 6 places? Or is it 12?
It has been, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty much every level of college football. Started out really just volunteering at Towson University with Coach Combs. Took a Division III, intern job for a couple $1,000s at Juniata College. We started the program at Stevenson in 2010. I was on the first staff there. Been out to Midwestern State in Texas, Bethany College, West Virginia. The Naval Academy was where I was most recently prior to, like you said, taking my dream job right here in our community at Concordia Prep.
Pretty good.
Yeah, Coach Joe. I mean, so I got to know you pretty well last season. Obviously, spent a lot of time covering the Concordia Prep Saints with you guys as the play-by-play voice, which was so much fun, and to see how you guys kind of grew over the season. Obviously, didn't end the way you wanted to, but kind of tell everybody else kind of what you're building over there at Concordia Prep and the Beltway Boys, as you guys call yourselves.
For sure. We've talked a little bit about my past here. I went to Gilman, played here, and I, went to high school at a really good private school, small school setting that had really good athletics. And so that's why I saw, Concordia Prep is such a great place to kind of sink our teeth into and take a program over. And so, that's what we're doing is we're trying, like I said, much like my dad did, right, is just try to use football as a vehicle to propel kids to the next level, or to put the proper skills into them and the work ethic and whatnot to help them be successful when they leave here. And so, we've had a really, a great amount of success. I've got I'm the head coach, but I've got great people around me that have helped us kind of propel this program to the next level. We've had back-to-back championship game appearances, ranked in the top 10 in the state the last 2 years. But most importantly, preparing young men for the next level, both academically and athletically. So we've had a lot of success with our kids being recruited out of the program as well. And so it's just been an awesome start, but we're looking to get better and better every year.
Yeah, the 2021 B Conference champs, and then the runners-up last year. And, how are you guys going to get back to being conference champs again this upcoming season?
For sure. I think, we were a really young team last year. We had really, really talented older players, but as a whole, the program was very, very young. So we were a little bit more seasoned. Obviously, you learn from failures as well. And we didn't win the last one, which is the most important one to win. And so I think our kids have been hungry with that. And, I think every year you go back and you review everything you did and try to get a little bit better at what you did. So we're changing some things around, as well as just making sure that we're all set and ready to go and fueled up to compete for another championship.
What are some of the games that you got coming up on the schedule for this season, 2023?
Sure. We open up home against Gilman August 26th, which will be a great matchup. And then following that following week, Friday, at home again against the A Conference champion, Archbishop Spalding, here at Concordia Prep as well. So two big openers to start, which is really exciting for us in the program.
Those are both at home?
Yes, they are.
Nice.
Joe, let me ask you a question. Now that you've been there a few years and you've built your program to what it is, you played for MIAA championship last year. Is it kind of like the golf game? Is it harder to build or harder to sustain?
It's a great question. I'm learning this as I go too. I do think that the nature of sports, no matter whether it's high school sports or you've seen it at the pro level, right? Once you win a championship, it's really hard to go win it again, right? Just because there's a different, we're human beings. So some kids, at times get complacent or think, they think that it becomes easy and those type of things. So it's just a different, I wouldn't say one is harder than the other because it's certainly hard to build, especially in a league that we play in that's so talented and so competitive. And everybody knows it, right? All these schools have been doing it for a long time and doing it really, really well and competing at a national level. So it's difficult to build, especially in this league. But it's very, very difficult to sustain as well. So a different challenge, but I don't know that one's tougher than the other. It's hard to win football games, no matter what you're doing.
Your reasonable expectations are a return to the conference championship game this year, Coach?
For sure. I mean, that's our goal every year is to win the league. I've always felt that way. Like that should be your goal, is to win the league that you play in. So that will never change. We added a goal this year is to beat Long Island Lutheran up in New York, which is a renewed rivalry that they played back in the day here. And that's one of the top teams in that area of New York. And so we've rekindled that rivalry. So we've added a second goal this year is to not only just win the championship, but also beat Long Island Lutheran and win the Lutheran Cup.
What is that like to have a rivalry? Does it help fire up the club to have a goal that's got some emotion attached to it too?
I think it definitely does. I think that's one of the greatest parts about sports is rivalries, especially the game of football. And so I think it's hard not to be up for a game like that where you got a trophy on the line and you know that other team is working all off season to try to beat you and whatnot. And I've been really fortunate in my time to be a part of some really, really awesome rivalries. Going to Gilman McDonough is an incredible rivalry that, I grew up, hating McDonough. And then, I was fortunate to play in some, coach in the Army-Navy game, which is as a unique rivalry as there is in all sports, as well as some really cool or maybe some of you don't know, like Juniata versus Susquehanna University, where the battle for the goalpost trophy. So they're really cool experiences. It's cool to kind of develop that, but then also develop a respect and a sportsmanship aspect to those rivalries. And that's something I really learned from, like I said, the Gilman-McDonough game as well as Army-Navy. It's, for 365 days a year, you hate them, and then all of a sudden, those Army and Navy, when they leave that place, they become teammates in the support of our country. So pretty cool aspect to that.
What should people know about, as Concordia Prep kind of grows and gets more put on this on the map here in the local high school sports scene? What should people know about home football games at Concordia Prep?
I think it's a really cool environment. We're a small, quaint. We're not the biggest stadium in the world or anything like that, which is actually kind of cool because you're elbow to elbow in this place. We have a nice little niche on Friday afternoons that you'll see. We often have a lot of the other teams in the league will come watch us play at that time if they're playing on Saturday or later Friday night. And so we've got. I'll put our concession stand up against anybody else's concession stand. So we've got great food, a great environment, ton of energy. Obviously, we've had great live stream situation with you making the calls with Miles, as well as Pastor Calzer on the PA. So we try to make it a really cool environment, and we're doing it even more and so this year. So
I was going to ask you as a last question. Can you talk a little bit about the radio broadcast, what they did? I hear that was the key to your season last year.
I mean, it definitely helps us for sure. Basically, AC Sports was a parent here in COVID. We needed a way to be able to show parents the games because they weren't going to let spectators to the games. And so we, through a lot of volunteer help, we kind of put something together, and it's kind of grown every year. And we do a full broadcast. We have a production meeting the day before. We all Griffin does a great job of knowing who our kids are and what they're doing and calling the game. And Miles brings a great perspective as well. And it's shot great and all those type of things. And so, it's the first thing I do after the game is I go home and I watch it again on the live stream. So it's been an awesome experience for us. And really, the spirit of athletics, if somebody's aunt or grandmother or whatever can't make it to the game or dad has to work, they're able to share in that experience of our student athletes that are putting in all this effort to go play on Fridays and Saturdays. So it's been a massive tool for us in our community.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach. Just to add, the atmosphere of those games is really, really great for local high school sports scene. I mean, it's literally right off the Beltway. The 695 is like feet from the field. When those cowbells get going and everybody really enjoys those games, those Friday afternoons into the evening at Concordia Prep right here in Towson. And Coach, maybe is there maybe an under the radar player that maybe we should all be on the lookout for once the season starts that we should be on the lookout for?
I think there's quite a few because we graduated some high profile guys, and there's some really good players that maybe didn't get the ball as much last year because of those guys and whatnot. But I could rattle off a bunch. A new addition to the team, Kevin Montague at running back. He's going to be really explosive for us. Jalen Harcum had a tremendous year last year. So if you followed us closely, you know who Jalen Harcum is. But maybe if you didn't, you don't as much in terms of high profile. But he's one of the best wideouts in the league. We've made some really good additions, and like I said, a lot of younger kids that are going to come into their own moving forward. And we've got a couple high profile. We have a kid that transferred in from IMG, Ernest Wheeler.
Wow.
He's a 5-star. He's ranked in the top 100 players in the country. So that's not quite under the radar, but if you haven't been paying attention, that'll be a new face out there as well.
Yeah, well, definitely got to check it out. You said you open up with Gilman and then Spalding, so two really high-profile opponents the first couple weeks. So yeah, I can't wait to see those games, and hopefully everybody else checks them out too.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on and being able to talk about Concordia. Sorry, go ahead.
We'll look forward to talking to you again, and I'll look forward to coming out to a game this year. All right. Thanks for joining us.
I better see you there,
Coach.
Stan.
All right, Joe. Take care.
Thank
Joe
you.
Battaglia,
all right.
the head coach, very successful head football coach at Concordia Prep, and we thank Griffin for setting that up. Griff, we got to get one more break in?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll tell you that the Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealers today. We'll be back and wrap things up with a tidbit, and we'll go tubular as well.
That's right.
Hike to new heights. The best view is yours in Washington County. Our iconic scenic overlooks provide some of the most breathtaking vistas in the Mid-Atlantic. Some are very easy walks, some can be driven to, and some are the payoff for a moderate to difficult hike. All are near quaint small towns that offer great dining, shopping, hiking gear, and more. Explore our 5 national parks for iconic vistas and wineries with breathtaking views. Visit our quaint historic towns and make your stay unforgettable. Learn more at visithagerstown.com. Maryland, be open.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
Your summer destination is closer than you think at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. With an expansive gaming floor and incredible dining options ready for you to explore, your adventure awaits. Dine at the new Coho Korean Barbecue House coming in July or on the patio at the Prime Rib. Enjoy the summertime breeze at Orchid Smoking Patio. Limited time packages starting at $229. What are you waiting for? Book now. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab-eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab-eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
Not exactly Glenn Clark. Stan the Fan here, sitting in one
Some
last
say better.
time. What's that?
Some say better.
Some would say that. Some would say that. Glenn will be back on Monday. Thanks, Griffin, for doing such a great job on my 3 shows this week, and I'm sure you did an equally fine job with Ken Zales. Now, just be honest with me. Don't be political. Who did a better job sitting in for Glenn?
There really is. You can't compare, really. I mean, like you both bring very different strengths to the table.
Like Ken really knows football, and I know a little bit about baseball.
Yeah, you know a little bit about baseball. Yeah. No, I mean you guys were both great. I think we put on 5 very entertaining shows for the listeners out there. And,
luckily
I had a pleasure shaking it up a little bit. And working.
Luckily for the listeners out there, Glenn will be back Friday, but it still leaves us time to get one more tidbit in and go tubular.
Yeah, Shohei Ohtani yesterday. He was pretty incredible. I think one complete game shutout in Game 1 of a doubleheader against the Tigers, and then 2 home runs literally less than an hour, or I guess it was about an hour later. He had 2 home runs in Game 2 of that Angels Tigers doubleheader. This one comes from Sarah Langs. Shohei is the 5th player ever to have a shutout, or to throw a shutout and hit 2 home runs on the same day. He is the 5th player to ever do that. The other 4 all did it between 1961 and 1971. You think you can name a single one of them?
Tony Cloninger.
No, not Tony. Most recently, on September 2nd, it was Sonny Siebert in 1971.
Sonny Siebert.
That's what I said, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Sonny Siebert. Rick Wise threw a no-hitter in 1971.
And hit 2 home runs in that game.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. Pedro Ramos in 1962, and then Milt Pappas in
I was going to guess you could have given me a clue. One of them was an Oriole.
Okay.
I would have guessed Milt Pappas.
Milt Pappas in 1961. So it happened 4 times between 61 and 71.
And it
Never
hasn't
before
happened since.
Until Shohei yesterday.
So 52 years.
Yeah.
That's a great tidbit. Where'd you find these tidbits?
This one's from Sarah Langs on Twitter. She's a great follow on. Slangs on Sports is her Twitter handle. She's a
Sarah
great.
Langs is the one who has multiple sclerosis.
Yes,
disease.
she has ALS, which is very sad. But she's still
great.
She's still grinding and gives us a lot of great gives the nerds like myself a lot of great information.
What do you just get it from following her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
And then something like when Shohei does something like that yesterday, everyone's talking about it. But
I watched a good chunk of that. I was kind of like shocked. I was doing a bunch of different stuff. I looked up and I go, they're letting him pitch the 8th inning. Then I was doing some other stuff.
They're letting him pitch.
They're letting him come out for the 9th.
And they're playing him in game 2.
How many pitches did he throw in game 1? Like
I think
111.
Yeah, something like that.
He had 80 through 7, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Spencer Strider is having a very great season, especially strikeout wise. He became the 3rd pitcher ever to, the 3rd player under the age of 25 to have 200 strikeouts before. Or excuse me, he's got the 3rd most strikeouts. He will be. Well, actually, no, he's not going to pitch. Will he pitch again before the end of the month? He has a chance to become the 3rd pitcher
today,
ever. He pitched Wednesday night. He pitched
Tuesday night.
Well, I think it was Wednesday night.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
So Wednesday was the 24th.
I can just check. Yeah, I can just check. I don't know why I keep trying.
He probably will get one more start in.
Well, if he does, and he records 1 strike, he's at 199 on the season. He will become the 3rd pitcher under the age of 25 to reach 200 strikeouts before the month of August. You think you can name the other 2 guys?
Dwight Gooden?
Not Dwight Gooden. 1971 is one of them.
1971. And these are rookie pitchers?
They're under 25 or under. Yeah, under 25, yeah.
What was the other year?
1912.
I'm not going to get the 1912 one.
Walter Johnson had 200 strikeouts before the month of August in 1912.
1971. J.R. Richard?
Not J.R. Richard. Let's see if I can give you a hint here.
Give me, what league, first of all? National or American League?
American League.
American League. 200 strikeouts. 1971.
Mm-hmm.
That's too old for Sam McDowell.
He was the MVP in Cy Young that year.
71?
Yeah.
Vida Blue.
Vida Blue is correct. 219 strikeouts under the age of 25 and before the month of August by Vida Blue. Yeah.
And now, wait a minute. Shohei's got that now?
No, that's Spencer Strider.
Spencer Strider.
Spencer Strider. Yes, Spencer Strider. There, a tidbit for you.
Tidbits are convoluted to me. In other words, when I get to I got the answers now, and I couldn't even remember what the question was. All right, good job there.
Hey, thank you.
Let's go tubular.
Tubular sports-wise, obviously biggest one tonight here in Baltimore. Yankees and Orioles at 7 o'clock. It is Mo Gabba Day, so they'll do some pregame there to honor the life and legacy of.
And
Mo
Adam
Gabba.
Jones is going to Adam Jones is going to catch the first pitch of the game. Sansi, but Mo's mom, Sansi Gabba, is going to throw out the first pitch, and Adam Jones is going to catch it. And Adam Jones really returning to the public eye. I know he does the podcast with Jerry Coleman, but he's really returning, and he's making a big splash out at Camden Yards tonight.
That is correct. He is going to be manning left field. The left field.
He's going to be Captain Splash.
Mr. Splash.
Mr. Splash. Yeah.
Captain
I
Captain
call
Splash
him
works.
Commander Splash.
Commander Splash. So that game's at 7 on MASN. Garrett Cole versus Grayson Rodriguez. It's going to kick off, which should be a very exciting series between the Yanks and the O's.
Right.
Apple TV Plus tonight's going to have Angels Blue Jays and the Guardians and the White Sox. We talked to Jamie Watson, who does some of the NWSL broadcasts. We talked to her earlier in the week. Tonight on NWSLsoccer.com is going to be the Gotham FC versus the Washington Spirits at 7. Jamie Watson not on the call for that game.
And when's the U.S. next women's game?
I don't think it's on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
It's
Anything
not
exciting this weekend with it?
The games will continue along. Tomorrow morning is going to be at 6 a.m. France and Brazil. Panama, Jamaica at 8:30 in the morning. That is both on Fox. Fox Sports 1 will have Sweden and Italy at 3:30 in the morning, which I know you'll stay up for that one,
I'll
right?
be up for that.
Yeah. Sweden, Italy at 3:30 in the morning. Then also on Fox, the Orioles and Yankees going to be at 7:15, so another night game Saturday night.
So MASN's only doing one game.
I believe so, yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Clark Schmidt and Tyler Wells tomorrow night. ESPN 2.
Tonight's Grayson versus Garrett Cole.
Correct.
Tomorrow's Wells versus Schmidt, and then Sunday
Night Baseball is going
Domingo
to be
Germán,
Luis Severino and Dean Kramer. Yeah.
Interesting matchups.
Athletes United Lacrosse will be at 5 o'clock on ESPN 2. That's going to be in Sparks from the USA Lacrosse facility in Sparks, Maryland. It's going to be at 5 o'clock on ESPN 2 on Saturday. ESPN Plus will have Atlas Chrome, Cannon's Redwoods, Saturday nights starting at 6. There's going to be golf on CBS. Between CBS and NBC and the Golf Channel, there's the PGA 3M, the Senior British Open on NBC, and then the LPGA Evian Championship. That one will be early in the morning on the Golf Channel. Also Saturday night, big fight nights for all the fight fans. We talked about it yesterday. Me and KZ did.
UFC?
Yes. UFC 291 is going to be Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje headlining a very exciting card for the UFC. Showtime's going to have Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. The pay-per-view starts at 8, so that fight, like the ring walk, will probably be around 10 p.m.-ish, 10:30-ish for Spence and Crawford.
You watch those?
Yeah, that one I will. Yeah, that one I will watch.
Are they pay-per-view?
That one's pay-per-view.
How much are they?
Too much. So it might be
30?
one of those. No, more than that.
More.
Yeah,
50.
more than that.
70.
The UFC one I know is 80. I think the Showtime boxing I think is somewhere at least 60 or 70.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of a racket. Also on Showtime, Bellator and Ryzen, Pitbull will fight AJ McKee. That one, the main card of that one, it starts at 11. Also on Showtime.
I'll give you one bit of tubular myself. I watched the stream of Jack Ryan, the final season.
And
season
you concluded
4.
finally. What did you think?
I thought it was pretty good. I've enjoyed those. They left open at the very end.
You're a big action guy. You like the.
I like action stuff.
Did you watch the new Mission Impossible?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, okay.
Tom Cruise, as much as I end up enjoying his movies mostly, I'm not real big on literally supporting a Scientologist. Sorry.
Okay, that's fair.
If that wipes out some of our audience, I'm sorry.
I did see the viewer count just dropped by at least one there.
I mean, I would probably rather support a Scientologist than a QAnon person, but that's sort of where I draw the line.
Okay, well, good to know. I think that's a fair line.
I hear the new Mission Impossible is terrific.
Yeah,
I will watch it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Day.
But the earlier ones, like the ones right before this one, I know were really good.
Right.
On Sunday, of course, on ESPN, the Yankees, Orioles, Luis Severino, Dean Kramer, 7 o'clock starts, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN primetime, the only baseball game going on here in Camden Yards. So get out there, check it out.
One last thing, though. I have watched I have Apple TV. Watched the first 2 episodes about 4 weeks ago of Hijack. And I said, you know what? I'm not liking waiting a week. So I've kind of waited for it to end. Now I can go back, and I think it's 4 or 5 more episodes.
There's one left. There's one left. So
there's one left, so I'll wait another week.
Yeah,
right.
Wednesday night I think will be the season 1 finale.
Yeah. Have you watched it?
I haven't watched it yet. It is one that I want to check out, though. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Sunday morning, I guess not morning, but at noon, the Peacock game is Angels Blue Jays. Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse again at 5 o'clock on ESPNU. Again in Sparks. Water Dogs Archer is going to be on ABC. For the World Cup, Fox is going to have South Korea, Morocco at 12:30 a.m. So that'll be like Saturday night into Sunday morning. Switzerland, New Zealand at 3 a.m. Japan and Spain will be late Sunday night, 3 a.m. Monday morning. Fox Sports 1 also going to have Norway, Philippines, Germany, Colombia, and Costa Rica, Zambia. And yeah, as far as the sports highlights, the rest just go to glennclarkradio.com. Aston Villa and Brentford will be at 12 on USA. Chelsea Fulham at 2:45. Both those games from FedEx Field in D.C. I know Gonzalez will be there. The non-sports for you, pulling those up for you on Apple TV Plus, The Beanie Bubble. So this is a new movie with Zach Galifianakis. He shaved his beard, so I didn't even know it was him for most of the trailer. But he shaved his beard, and he is like an arrogant but like funny kind of like CEO of like this toy company, I think. The trailer was kind of confusing.
And what's the name of it?
The Beanie Bubble.
Beanie Bubble.
Yeah, it's on Apple TV Plus. Check it out if you feel so inclined. Netflix. I think that this is a series about you, Stan. It's how to become a cult leader, and you.
How to become a cult leader?
Yeah, because you lead the Stan Charles cult. So yeah. So that's one will be. It's a docu-series on Netflix. Just about how cults start, I guess. I don't know why we need more coverage for cults, but I guess we do. Shark Week will wrap up on Sunday, as well as on Sunday, part 3 of the Goliath docu-series on Wilt Chamberlain on Showtime, and Righteous Gemstones, new episode, of course. The rest, go to glennclarkradio.com.
I realized something. I'm in the middle of doing my grid, so there's a spoiler alert I'm going to give for 10 seconds. Okay? 10, 9.
Okay, just give it.
8, 7.
Just give us the spoiler.
6. Detroit Tiger, Pittsburgh Pirate. I did end up, I really wasn't 100% sure. Bill Madlock, 3%. Played for Tigers, Pirates. That's a good one.
Good one. Good job.
But I realized my biggest fault as a immaculate grid player
as an immaculator
is not knowing a thing about the Rockies.
Yeah,
I cannot. They just don't come into my.
You can name like 3 Rockies all time. It's like Todd Helton.
Yep.
Ubaldo, Larry Walker, and then that's probably about it.
Yeah. How about the manager, Clint Hurdle?
There you go.
Bud Black now.
Yeah.
Those guys. I think you should be able to use a manager.
Maybe you can try it here.
I'm not going to try.
I'm not going to waste.
I've got 2 guesses to go. I got to come up with a Pirate Rocky and a Red and a Rocky. Okay, Cincinnati and Rocky.
I don't think the Red Rocky exists. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't think.
What's that?
A Red Rocky can't exist. I can't think of anyone.
Okay.
Did LeMahieu ever play for the Reds? No, I don't think.
No,
I don't think it works. I don't think Red Rockies works. Those teams just don't ever.
I don't think there's anybody that ever. I'm sure there is. Luke picked up on this about 3 weeks ago when I first started doing it.
Is he destroying you?
You got to know middle inning relievers.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's really what the truth of it is. All right. Again, many thanks for tuning in. Glenn back Monday. I will be back Monday at 4 o'clock with a trade deadline special.
Oh, yeah.
Zoom with Ross Grimsley and Luke Jackson. I'll also be on with the boys tomorrow at around 10:25 for about 20 minutes. All right?
Awesome.
That does it for us this week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.